Thank you. I'm Mr. Lehner. Welcome back to a spring fresh episode of Mr. Lehner's Math Extravaganza as I'm sporting my baseball tie today. In today's webisode, we're going to focus on frequency tables. Now, frequency tables are one way you can organize a set of data or information to help you look at it in a different way. Let's take a look at an example. If I were to poll a class of students about their favorite pets or pets that they own at home, I could take the information that's in this data set and then organize it into a frequency chart. As I take a look in here, I make sure I have a title on my frequency table, pets owned by students. I have fish, dogs, hamster, and cats. I have my tally marks, and I have my frequency, how often they occur. So looking at my data set, the first thing I would do is I would look at the fish. And if I was doing this with pencil and paper, I would cross it out as I was going through so I didn't make a mistake. If I'd take 1F, 2F, I'd put a tally mark each time. My frequency would be 2. If I'd take a look at dogs, I would cross this off. I'd put a tally once, 2, 3, and 4. I'd put my 4 tally marks. My frequency would be 4. Hamsters, I see 1H. I would cross off the hamster. It's 1. Frequency is 1. And then cats. I'd look through, I'd cross off my 2 C's for cats, 2 tally marks, the frequency is 2. Now to double check this information, I would look here. I have a 3 by 3 figure, I know I have 9 total. I would then add up my frequency to double check this. 2 plus 4 is 6, plus 1 is 7, plus 2 is 9. I know that I didn't miscount my information. I made sure that my numbers add up or are equal to one another. Another way to look at a frequency table is student test scores. Now, when looking at these numbers are all over the board. This can be very confusing when looking at this, so one way to kind of help myself organize test scores is to use a frequency table. Again, labeling my title. What is this information telling me? It's telling me the student test scores. I've now used an interval. I've used an interval of 2. Scores of 1 and 2, 3 and 4, 5 and 6, 7 and 8, 9 and 10. Intervals help us also organize the information. Think of like skip counting. If I go 5, 10, 15, 20, that's an interval of 5. Or if I skip count by 10, 10, 20, 30, 40, those are intervals. Here we use an interval of 2. We still have our tally marks and we're still going to have our frequency. Now, anytime I see a 1 or a 2, I would look at my chart, I would cross them off, I'd make my tallies and put my frequency. Since there are no scores of 1 and 2, there's a 0 frequency. They don't occur at all. 3 and 4, there are 2 scores that are either 3 or 4. Frequency is 2. 5 and 6, there's 3 tally marks, which is my frequency of 3. 7 and 8, which has 9 tally marks in there. And 9 and 10, which have 4 tally marks. Again, looking at our information, I have a 3 by 6 figure, which should be 18. I'm going to add up my numbers. 2 plus 3 is 5, plus 9 is 14, plus 4 is 18. I know that I have all of my information included in my chart. Another thing I could do is when I look at this frequency table here, I can analyze the data. If I were to look at this quiz that I gave my class, I would take a look. I'd want my students to be scoring in this area because that tells me they understand the information. If the majority of the students are scoring in this area, it means they didn't comprehend the material that was taught to them. So when I look and I see that 13 out of 18 students scored 80% or higher, that's a solid number right here, but I would still have 5 students that were struggling with that information. They either scored 60% or lower. So it helps you to kind of look at the data in a different way and to make sense of it in a different way as well. All right, again, best time of the show. Grab that pencil, grab that paper, go ahead and make sure you're not watching the White Sox or the Cubs. Pause this video and let's try this frequency table up here. I have student test scores included here. I want you to make a frequency table. Go ahead and pause that video. Okay, hopefully in your frequency table here, you knew that you had to come up with an interval. Now these scores had a range, very wide range of scores. We had scores from 10 all the way up through 60. So a good interval to choose for this would be 10. I did 10 through 19, 20 through 29, 30 through 39, 40 through 49, and 50 through 59. When setting up the interval, it's important to make sure you don't repeat numbers. If I were to put 10 through 20 and then 20 through 29, I'd be counting 20 twice. If anyone scored 20, I'd be putting a tally here and a tally here. That would totally throw off my information. So keep that in mind when creating the interval. As you analyze your data, you should have come up with a frequency of 3 for 10 through 19, a frequency of 4 for 20 through 29, frequency of 4 for 30 through 39, a frequency of 4 for 40 through 49, and lastly a frequency of 3 for 50 through 59. Again, once I've put this into a frequency table here, I can then analyze the information. Again, it's a different way to look at data. There's all different kinds of things you can do with that. Thank you for tuning in to another webisode of Mr. Langer's Math Extravaganza. As always, we'll see you next time.